The parsha of Leimas Levav Echov Klubava. The Mia Ish parsha. We go to Muhammad. It says, whoever is faint of heart, Mia Ish Hayorev Racha Levav Yelech Yoshev B'Beisoi Leimas is Levav Echov Klubava. We see from over here that a schwache heart, somebody who's faint of heart, doesn't have courage, doesn't have starkheit, has to go home. Why? Because it's contagious. It's going to rub off on other people. It's go home. So Emery Emes said, you see from over here that if somebody has courage and is stark, how much he could be mashpia l'toiva on other people and give other people the courage to fight the Muhammad. Pnei Menachem, Pinchas Menachem, writes something mamish moridik, which I think is the Hakdamah for Yonim Eiron, the Slichos. He says, as much as a Yorev Racha Leva, somebody who is faint of heart, weak, just like doesn't have any imutz halei, as much as that is a shter, and that's somebody that chas v'sholom could be mashpia, not good for other people. A tzabroch in our hearts is the biggest chizuk when it comes to fighting a Muhammad. A leiv nishbar is a chizuk. Leiv, a shvach, a leiv cholosh is a shter. A leiv that's nishbar, that's a leiv that could lead other people into the Muhammad. And Avada, what he means over there, we're not talking about a physical Milchama. We're talking about the Milchama, the grace of Milchama. He says in Milchama, which is the Milchama that we're about to start fighting. And for that Milchama, a leiv nishbar, a broken hearts, that's what's considered the best, well-equipped person in this Milchama is a broken hearts. That's what the Boy Shalom is looking for these days. We start Slichos, and we start the first psukim that we say. And we leave off Slichos right after Kaddish with these psukim. L'cho Hashem hatztoko, v'lonu boishes haponim. Man is oining, man noima, man edaber, man etztaber. Nachmas ebrachenu ki mincha, loi b'chesed, v'loi b'maasem bonu l'fanech. Kedalum u'cheroshim d'faknu b'lasech. What we're saying over here when we start, before we say all the psukim of Shemei Tefillah, we know, according to the Levush, that's psukim d'zimna. The tefillah of Slichos is a tefillah like other tefillahs, and it was niskan with a kaddish before, and then we say psukim d'zimna, which is Shemei Tefillah, and then we get to Shmoneh Esrei, which is Yud Ches, which is Yud Gimel Midas Harachman, and then afterwards we have Tachum, and then afterwards we have Kaddish of Tiskaba. So Levush tells Avek Slichos like a tefillah. So the psukim of Shemei Tefillah is Divrei Sheva. So all the psukim we say the Groiskeit, the Gavus V'Kodesh Baruch. So, but the beginning, the Akdama till Tefillah Shevach is We're not coming to the Rabbeinu Shalom, loy b'chesed, loy b'mas, b'onu l'fanecha. We're coming like a dal and a rosh, dofaknu glasecha. A dal and a rosh means dofaknu glasecha. One said over the Moshe from Rabbi Eli Wapian, he said, somebody who is coming for a donation, for a cause, he doesn't bang on someone's door. Comes, he knocks. If the person answers good, he says, I don't want to scare the person. I don't want to knock loudly. Somebody who's a dal and a rosh who has nothing to eat for supper that night, and he's starving, he doesn't knock lightly. He doesn't run away when the person doesn't answer. He bangs until he gets an answer. A dal and a rosh, the fact we're banging on the door. Why? Because we have nothing. Loy b'chesed, loy b'mas, b'onu l'fanecha. The comments to the Rabbeinu Shalom, the boishes coming. We don't have any schusim or any merit to ask that we should merit a din al pi din. It's only rachum. It's only chesed from the Rabbeinu Shalom. Without kedalin ucherosh and the. Now, I want to say a chiddush that maybe give us a little bit as a tzakdam over here to what we're doing. This week's parsha, we had the parsha of Toifecha, and the last pasuk in the Toifecha, after all the klolos and all the shrekla chazafin it says over there, it sounds pretty lame and pretty benign. It says, "Vashivcha Hashem Mitzrayim b'aniyos padera." You're going to go back on boats to Mitzrayim, and I told you shouldn't go back. This makartem shom lo'ivecho la'avodim u'shvachos. You're going to go up to sell. You're going to want to sell yourself to your enemies as an eved and a shivcha. The ain't kind, and nobody's going to buy you. Nobody's going to buy you. Nobody's going to be interested in you. That's the end of the time. So, okay. First of all, the Rishonim all ask that how come we don't end with Divrei Nechama? In Parshas B'chukoisai, we end with Divrei Nechama. Over here, we just end on such a down note. There's no Divrei Nechama. The end of the Toifecha. But more than that, like what? Okay, what is so terrible? You know what the spitz? You want to know what the spitz einish is going to be? You know, want to be sell yourself as a slave, sell yourself as a shivcha, and nobody's going to be interested. It's not going to work. Okay, so we understand that. That means that you won't have anything to eat and anything. You'll end up dying. But like after all the shrekach things that it says before, this seems pretty benign to end the Toifecha. So the pshat, I think, is like this. We know that the kuzri, when he stells avek the sugim, right? So everyone knows there's a doinen, a rock, an inanimate object. There's a chai, life, plant life, vegetation, things that grow. There's a chai, there's something that's alive, a behemoth. And then there's a medab. Then there's an adam who's a medab. 4 different levels in the creation. So the kuzri stells avek, there's a 5th level. And that 5th level is a YISROEL, a yid. A yid is a different sug in the bria. So what's the yisod of the kuzri? The yisod of the kuzri is like this. What does it mean it's a different sug of the bria? It means like this. When you have, let's say, a diamond, there's a rock, and then there's a chai, and there's a plant that's growing. So you might think to yourself that the chai, the tzemeach, the plant, it's a diamond plus. It's like it's got what a diamond has plus a different level. It's a chai. It's a tzemeach. A chai is a tzemeach plus. What's the truth? The truth is that a diamond stays a diamond. If you take a plant, you uproot it, you pull it off the ground, and you leave it alone, it withers and wilts until it's nothing. It doesn't stay a diamond. If you take a behemoth of Baal Chai and it gets killed, it dies, it loses its chiyus, it turns into an avela, it starts to smell, it starts to rot. It doesn't stay a tzemeach, and it doesn't stay a diamond. So what do I see by these different sugim? These are not one on top of the other. This is one, and then there's a completely different sug called a tzemeach, a different sug called a b'chai. And the maila that each one has over this other sug becomes its chesaron when it loses its chiyus. That's what we see. If that's true, when the Kuzari said that YISROEL is a different sug than any other medaber, than any other guy in the street, about the Havdalah ben YISROEL, Kuzari is not being mechagish to us that a yid is moved from a guy. We say, about the last time we're full, we know that we're different. But what he's telling us is not different. It's not, we're a guy, plus we have the mind of YISROEL. No, we're a different sug. Just like a plant is a different sug than a diamond, so than a diamond. If you take away from the plant its chiyus, it doesn't become a diamond. It's gone. It's nothing. Period. Zero. A YISROEL that doesn't have the mile of YISROEL has no existence. We can't live. We have no makom in this world. A YISROEL, if he wants to be Khalil, if he loses the mile of YISROEL. There's no place for us. So when the spitz teichacha, after all the ancient, the Torah wants to tell you like this. You're going to say to yourself, you know what? Things are going terrible. At the end of the teichacha, let's go back to Mitzrayim, and we'll become avodim. We'll just turn back history, and we'll go back to where we originally started, and it's not going to be great. We're going to be gepeinig. We're going to be tortured, but at least we'll have an existence. So up to Torah, you're going to think you're going to go back to Mitzrayim. You can't reverse the clock. Once you went out of Mitzrayim and you became the Am HaNiftar and you stood at Har Sinai and you were the Torah, we are now a nation that cannot have any existence except as a nation that keeps the Torah mitzvahs. If we lose that, then we can't go back. We don't have any cushion to fall back on. You're going to go by shift ba'aniyos, by smakartam sham loidechi. You're going to think, okay, I'll become an Eved, I'll become a shift. It's not going to happen. So it's ending with the spitz teichacha, which is the nechama. The biggest nechama that we have is that we have to stay, a yid has to stay with the milas YISROEL no matter what. We can't lose that milah of YISROEL because we don't have anything else to fall back on. We don't have anything else to fall back on. We come to saying to Slichos. It's a very, very, it's a sharp word. I saw it b'shem Rabbi Chasam, then I saw it somewhere else. So he said like this, he heard people say, oh, negate Zogen Slichos. Banach gaten Zogen Slichos. We're saying Slichos. So he said, you're saying Slichos? The Rabbi Shalom has to say Salachti. He's the one who has to be Seleah. You're going to beg for Slicha. So don't say you're saying Slichos. Saying you're begging for Slicha. So when we're going to the tefillah of Slichos, it's not an Amira, Mizot Slichos. Mebeit for the Rabbi Shalom, the Rabbi Shalom should answer us Salachti. Now, why will the Rabbi Shalom answer us Salachti? Because we understand that we have no existence except by HaKadosh Baruch Hu. There's nothing else. The end of all the psukim over here, we say, the Salachta Lavinenu Kiravhu. What does it mean over here? The Salachta Lavinenu Kiravhu, Rashi and Tehillim says, Rabbi Shalom, you're a Rav. There's nobody big in HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Noel l'Rav, sheyislach l'Rav. What does that mean? That means that as big as our Averis are, our Averis are out. And we understand that the pshat is we start off, nobody reads a chaim that they can come with their merit and with their schusim and say, Rabbi Shalom, I deserve. We don't deserve. But the hakara that we don't deserve, the hakara, that's what it means, what the Pnei Menachem meant. A tzebrach in the hearts is not a shvach hearts. A tzebrach in the hearts is somebody that understands, Rabbi Shalom, you know where I'm holding, and you know how all my nisyonis and how difficult it is for me. I'm standing in front of you, and I know that as long as I recognize that the Yeshua, this halachta lavoini kiravu noel l'rav sheyislach l'rav, then that's a starter. That's a festa. It's not a weakness. When somebody cries, when somebody does tshuva, when somebody feels that copy the Rebbeinu feels like I have nothing to say, I'm completely helpless. That's not saying I'm weak. That's not saying I'm nothing. It's saying, Fakir, my Klal Yisrael knows that they batuach in the hands of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And that's our start. That's so the chizuk that we have, the Dalet Yomin, the Ikra of Slichos, you make bikur for moment. You have to be ready to be makriv ourselves as a korban for HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That's what Mishabura brings. And we have to be mavakar ourselves from moment because we're going to have to go in his bath. What does it mean we're going to be a korban for HaKadosh Baruch Hu? It means we have to be ready in Rosh Hashanah to give ourselves up for HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Put ourselves on a mistake. We have no hands, we have no feet. Everything that we think and we thought is worth something. We know it's all about stuff with nothing. To be makir that we have to be a korban for HaKadosh Baruch Hu, to give ourselves up. We need 4 days of asking, vakish, slicha, that the Rebbeinu Shalom should be moichel, selichos, to help him taka. We should be zoicha, to tzivach, sinatreiva, and a good gebench here. A good gebench. Yeah.